reimagining what Seattle can look like in the future. As I think about that, I think about all the issues and situations that we're facing right now in real time. I think about the effects of COVID. I think about the effects of oppression, of racist institutions. I think about all the guns and gangs and drugs that have flooded our community. I think about the miseducation system. I think about unemployment. I think about our community being unhoused and underserved. I think about the focus that our government has on so many different things, but helping lift up communities that have been under oppression for so long. I sit back and I think about all the marches and protests and for all the years, not just during the George Floyd situation, but I'm talking about all the marches and protests that we were having way before that even happened. We were yelling from the rafters that we need to be served, that we need help. You need to focus on helping our youth and young adults and families come out of poverty, get a better education, have a better medical system. Like, we were doing all these things, hollering about that. And then all of a sudden COVID hits, right? When COVID hit, the government exposed itself. And what I mean by that is we were talking about revolutionizing, rebuilding, revamping the criminal justice system so that it doesn't stay so focused on the Black and brown communities and we don't become victims of it. With all the other oppressive situations and institutions that come in play to lead us into the criminal justice system, we become victims of the criminal justice. And we were talking about, how do we revamp that? How do we revisit that conversation? The resources you pour into all these oppressive systems should be poured into us being uplifted and put in a position where we're self-sustainable. We're owning businesses, we're owning homes, we're owning property, we're getting better education, we're getting college degrees. That's where the money should be focused at. That's where the energy should be focused at. And we were saying that way before COVID hit. And we were constantly being told there's no resources. We don't have money for that. There was a $70 million pitfall in the Seattle school district education system, right? They were in a whole 70 million. Like, we don't have the money. We don't have the money to house people. We don't have the money to educate people. We don't have the money to employ people or get them training or leadership development. We don't have the money to pull people out of the streets and give them services they need. They were giving out kibbles and bits to different organizations to do small tasks. But COVID hit, and all of a sudden trillions and trillions of dollars were available. All of a sudden, revamping the criminal justice system became something that was easy to do. All of a sudden, things started changing. But the thing that didn't change, and that got even more of a problem, was the economic separation between the rich and the poor. That's what happened. So now I sit back and I look at all these factors, all these issues, all these situations that I just rambled on, and then I go, what does the future look like? Or what can the future look like? Because right now, the future looks pretty bleak in my eyes. Right now, the future doesn't look like there's really any hope. Like, people, I just feel like sometimes I want to give up. But I know I can't, and I know we can't. But when I think of a future that does put some hope in my heart, I think about all the people that we work with on a daily basis, all the families, some of the families that are going through mourning from a loss of a youth or a young adult, or all the families that are celebrating their kid graduating high school and going to college because we worked with them. I see the two different dynamics there. And I have hope in my heart because I see that there's a lot of successes we've had. Kids we pulled out the streets, families we've been able to help move into safe environments, people that we've helped get jobs and employment, and some of them starting businesses, and I've seen that. But I've also seen the dark side. But if I focus over here on the positive things that I just mentioned, where we were able to have a lot more successes than failures, and I think that's what the future needs to look like. What if the energy of all the resources coming out of government, what if the energy of all the community organizations, what if the energy of all the systems that have been oppressive all of a sudden shift gears and we decided we're gonna make sure our young people are successful? There's a country in Africa, I hear my brother talk about it from time to time. He was in a country in Africa, and when they greet each other, they speak their native language, and when they greet each other, the native language interpreted to be, how are the children today? Not hi, how are you? Not hello or good morning or how's your day going? None of that. None of the stuff that we greet each other with. It was, how are the children today? Everybody greeted each other in that village. How are the children today? How are the children today? How are the children today? Could you imagine the energy that comes from just repeating that throughout the day every time you've seen somebody? Asking somebody that question, and then that person giving you feedback on how their children are doing today? It puts the focus on the most important piece of that community, the children. And that's what we need to do here in Seattle. We need to put our focus on our children. If we're gonna stop the systemic issues that we're dealing with racist institutions, our children need to be uplifted and focused on. That's how we stop the cycle of generation after generation of falling into these systems, falling into the criminal justice system at an alarming rate. Now we're killing each other at an alarming rate all over the country. Seattle looks like to me, how are the children? Seattle looks like to me, how are the children? What are the children doing? What are we supporting the children with? What are we giving the children? Are the children successful today so that they can be successful tomorrow? And we're gonna keep revisiting that every day. How are the children? How are the children? How are the children? Now we are talking to each other in a way and planting the seeds in a way where the resources are going to the children. No kid should not be getting a good education, should not be homeless, should not be hungry, should not be out here robbing and stealing, should not have some kind of mentorship and leadership development, right? Somebody needs to lead the kids. Somebody has to check on the children. And once we get into a space where our focus is how are the children, now we start building from there. But in the meantime, Community Passageways is focusing on the children and focusing on the families by building a youth achievement center. Building a youth achievement center that's gonna serve the community for decades. That's gonna house the community, educate the community. We're gonna put a bank inside this facility. We're gonna bring financial education to the community. We're gonna bring employment opportunities to the community, all in 2 buildings. All this, you walk in a one-stop shop where the community will be served and the focus will be on the children and the families that are raising the children. When we do that and we get to that space, once we break ground and build these facilities, we can show an example right there to the rest of the city what it looks like to have a greater and better Seattle. That's the way I see it.